What's up, Broncos country? Welcome back inside the UC Health Training Center for another episode of Broncos Now. Team reporter and host Sydney Jones here. And coming up on today's episode, fellow team reporter Phil Milani joins the show. We'll talk about Sunday's loss versus the Chargers in Kansas City and look ahead to the Broncos' final game of the season at Empower Field at Mile High this Sunday. All that and more coming up. Before we get into today's show of Broncos Now, I just want to start off by sending our thoughts and prayers to Bills safety Damar Hamlin, who suffered a cardiac arrest after a hit during their game versus the Bengals on Monday Night Football. A really incredibly scary situation, really devastating. Damar, we are praying for you, Broncos country. Make sure to keep sending your prayers out. Just a really tough time for the NFL community. Now, as we shift our attention to this Broncos team, fellow team reporter Phil Milani joins me here inside the Broncos podcast studio. Phil, appreciate you joining me on the show today.
Sid, thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
Yeah, of course. Well, 1 week left in the season here for the Broncos. I know it's been 1 week now since Jerry Rosburg was named the interim head coach. So let's start with him. I know he talked on Monday and just talked about how much an honor it was for him to kind of take the sideline. For the first time as a head coach. He said he felt like it's where he was destined to be. It felt comfortable for him. So how do you just think he did in his first week and his first game?
Well, I will say Jerry Rosburg sort of has become a fan favorite around here. It does seem like fans have really his message has really resonated with them. Mm-hmm. And I think that you saw the team take on his personality a little bit, played some disciplined football. The special teams certainly looked a lot better. I saw Alex Singleton force that fumble. Eric Sauber jumped on it, had a blocked field goal there before halftime. So special teams looked a lot better. Kendall Hinton had a nice return at the end of the game. So I thought that you saw the players really respond to the message that Rosberg was sending during the week. And, I think that he talked about planting seeds and hoping that, the garden will bloom later on next year. And I think that hopefully he's able to do some good things here this last game and then send the Broncos off into the offseason maybe with a win. He just said that he really wanted those guys to be able to celebrate after this game and just be able to enjoy something from this season. One other thing I thought that stood out from his press conference on Monday was I think that Cody Rourke asked him, hey, what do you think it says that your players were able to rally for you? And will that message continue this week? And he was like, they didn't rally for me. They rallied for each other. They rallied for this fan base. Mm-hmm. And I thought that was really good perspective because
I think so too.
While this is a special moment for Rosberg and he should be able to soak this in, he said that he brought his son to the game and he was able to sort of embrace that moment with his son. At the end of the day, he knows that he didn't go through training camp with this team. He was just a consultant, really. Yeah. And so he knows that this isn't about him, for this whole team, and that these players are the ones that have gone through this season. They're the ones that have worked really hard and suffered all these losses. And so is the fan base. So he's like, it's more about this team doing it for each other and doing it for the fan base.
Yeah. I think it's interesting, too. I know when he came in last week, he said, one of his main goals was just to make as much of an impact as he could within his final 2 weeks. And you mentioned the special teams unit, Phil. I mean, we really saw an immediate turnaround from them. It was probably their best game of the season, definitely their best game of the season. So it's interesting to see just how much of an impact he has already made within the first week.
Yeah, I mean, he's a longtime special teams coordinator coach in this league, so he knows special teams. And even just the way that he handled the situation with Montreal Washington, you know, he was like, look, I think this kid has a bright future. He's got a lot of talent, but he's still working on his fundamentals.
For sure.
And so while it was a little bit tough, making him inactive for the game. At the same time, he built him up, look, you got a lot of potential, a lot of skill here, but you're not quite ready for this. Right. And so he made him inactive for the game, which sort of sends a message, I do need to work on things, And so you saw Marlon Mack out there for the opening kickoff, hurt his hamstring on that play, but, you saw him out there. And then later on, Kendall Hinton returning punts there. So I think that just the way he even handled that situation was nicely done.
I agree. And we saw him make some changes on offense too. Justin Allen, he was the play caller for the first time this season on Sunday. And, we talked a lot about on Monday, just Russell Wilson's ability to use his legs and, kind of creating this offense for Russell and, doing what he does best. Russ finished the day with, 27 yards on 4 carries, 2 of those being touchdown runs. So, Phil, what did you just think overall about Russell Wilson's performance, and how do you think he can really build on that this week?
Well, I think that is the most important thing going forward is Russ being able to show potential coaching candidates like, hey, I still got it. I'm still Russ here.
Right.
And so if he's able to show that again this final game, I think that might ease any sort of worries that a coaching candidate might have.
Yeah.
Because ultimately that's what's going to determine the success of this team next year is the new head coach coming in, implementing a strong culture of winning here, but then also getting the most out of Russ.
Right.
And so I think that Russell Wilson showed, look, I can still run. I'm a physical quarterback, like that's a part of my game. He passed Randall Cunningham for third place now among all quarterbacks with rushing yards. So this is a huge part of his game. It puts a lot of stress on the opposing defense. But at the same time, you don't want him just running out there crazy all the time because he's an older quarterback. You don't want him to get hurt. We've seen him miss a couple of games this year. He'd been battling a shoulder injury, a hamstring injury this season. So I think you have to pick your spots. Be like, okay, this is like a crucial play. We need to score a touchdown here. This is on the table. Or, hey, maybe the opposing defense is doing something. Let's counter it with this. Yeah. But I don't think you want Russ just running all the time out there. But knowing that that's part of his, that's in his tool bag, that's a big part of what he can do. And so I think he showed that, look, I can still do this. And that's important.
Well, Phil, looking at the defense, I thought they bounced back really nicely on Sunday, contained Mahomes to a degree, made his job a little bit more difficult like we saw them do in the first meeting. What do you hope to kind of see from them moving forward into this weekend as, they got another tough challenge with Justin Herbert and this Chargers team?
I think that defense just wants to finish the season strong. I mean, they had a couple of games there where they didn't look quite like themselves, like that Panthers game or the Rams game, like you mentioned there. But if they're able to just finish the season strong, I think that would be sort of something that they could hang their hat on. Like, hey, this was a tough season, but at least us as a unit, we did what we wanted to do this year, especially, players change, every offseason. Coaching staff's going to change. So for them to just be able to play for each other one more time out there, I think is going to be important for them. Just like actually football-wise, I mean, they gave up a couple of red zone touchdowns to Jerry McKinnon there. Yeah. Maybe if they can clean up some of those things and prove that at one point this year they were the best red zone defense in the NFL, maybe shore that up a little bit. And then, I look at a guy like Justin Simmons. He missed 5 games this season. He's still tied for the lead in the league for interceptions with his 6th one against Patrick Mahomes. He got it on Sunday. So maybe if he can get another one and end the season, the league leader in interceptions, even though he missed 5 games, that would be really impressive. So that's a career high for Justin Simmons. 6 is. So if he can get one more, that could be kind of special. And then
should have been a Pro Bowl starter. Just saying.
I agree.
Yeah.
But I think the thing they care about more is all pros.
All pros.
So we'll see how that voting ends up there. So. I think just finish the season strong. Maybe get a win at home against a division opponent. They have not beaten a division opponent this year, so that could be really big.
Critical.
So, yeah. And then just beating a Chargers team, I think that would be a good thing for this defense if they can just play strong football. Because the Chargers are rolling right now. I mean, they're playing really, really good football. So. If they can just go out there, play tough, and finish the season with a big game, that would be nice.
Yeah, I definitely think a win on Sunday would be critical, not just for ending the season on a good note, but the Broncos haven't ever lost 13 games in a season ever in franchise history. So that's something to think about too.
Yeah, I mean, it's just been a long season, a lot of ups and downs, more downs than ups. But I mean, just a win at home. I think the way Rosberg put it, just be able to celebrate a little bit in that locker room, to be able to leave the stadium without getting, as Rosberg said, the raspberry. from the fans. That would be nice. And
we got some of those in Kansas City.
Oh, I know. Yeah. Those Chiefs fans, they're really
crazy.
Good. They're crazy, but I think that they make it tough on the opposing team. So they're really good. But yeah, just to be able to leave and just say, hey, we won that game, that could be just a little positive there before an off season that's going to be full of change,
Yeah.
And I think that whatever head coach comes in, what Greg Penner was looking for is just accountability, discipline, that kind of stuff. The culture is going to change around here. And so, there's going to be a lot of changes. And so maybe just to get into the offseason on a bright spot, that'd be nice.
Yep, I agree. Well, we'll see what happens this week, and we'll see what happens.
It won't be easy.
No,
it won't be easy.
Chargers are playing really well.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Phil, appreciate you joining me on this Tuesday. I'll see you right back here tomorrow on Wednesday.
We'll break down what Russ had to say.
Yes, I love it.
Thanks, Sid.
Thank you, Phil. Well, that'll do it for today's episode of Broncos Now, Broncos Country. Thanks so much for tuning in. I hope you'll meet me right back here on the Broncos Podcast Network and YouTube tomorrow as the team is back at practice. I will see you all then.